Good evening. I'd like to call to order the September 23rd, 2025 budget meeting. If you can rise for the flag, pledge the flag, and to a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Grace?
Mr. Pliskevich?
Here.
Mr. Lister?
Here.
Ms. Lloyd?
Here.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Renninger is not here.
Now is the time of public comment on agenda items. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, item number 1.
Rob's gonna go over his current situation with 2025 and then present any variances that were done in 2026. I will chime in 2026 on revenue and on the admin and finance budgets before he gets started, so he can start with 2025. Oh, sorry. Do you want me to re-say all that?
All right, 2025 revenue and or expenses. Revenue is on plan, expenses are running under plan. Payroll due to an open lineman position. Office and operating expenses, the meter supplies and maintenance, that will depend on meter replacement that I'll talk about in my capital outlay request. Under plan for engineering, it's mainly due to 2025 services related to the substation build, which is covered by the bonds. However, it will be increasing this last quarter as we have our engineers in to help with the behind the meter generation. And under plan for legal issues because there are no outstanding legal issues. Any other expense under plan will have expenses that fall in the last quarter of the year. Did you say you want to?
Yeah, so in 2026 revenue, the main variance in the revenue number is for the rate increases. So there was a percentage of rate increases, residential and commercial industrial, included in the revenue number, but it's also offset with the payment of the increase in the power purchase. So it offsets, but there was an increase to account for the rates. Admin and finance, pretty much the same comments that I had in the general fund. Admin is lower because I pulled Lori Smith's position out as the clerk, and there is a part-time replacement covering finance that was moved to the finance department. Pretty much all other expenses, besides the requested capital outlay for the finance redesign, finance space redesign that was put in as a capital outlay project in both the general fund and the electric fund. So Rob's going to focus on electric distribution. You'll notice that there are public works, but that's a minimal amount of expense in there, as well as the central garage. There is a split 50-50 of expenses between general fund and the electric fund, and then there's a 3-way split of payroll for the central garage between police, general, and electric. And then down below that you'll see the debt service, and that is related to the bonds that we're paying back each year. And then the transfer to electric cap is in there, which is a typical transfer we do every year in the amount of $150,000 into the electric sinking fund for equipment and infrastructure. And then the last item is the in lieu of tax transfer of $525.
Capital outlay requests.
Do you want to talk about electric distribution first? There's not really much there, but.
I'm sorry.
I'm
thought
sorry,
I was
that's
only
okay.
going over this.
So he doesn't have it in his notes actually. Because there's not anything but typical increases, 3% for payroll, 6% increase for benefits and health, and then the pass-through cost increase for the power purchase.
Mm-hmm.
All the other budget lines you're saying are pretty much in line with
Pretty much in line.
2025.
Mhm. And now if you want to go to the capital outlay request that he has outlined.
Well, do we want to go see if there's any questions on the operating budget
Sure.
first? Anybody look at that? Any questions there? Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
So I understand the moving of Lori Smith's position out of that budget, and I should have asked this at the last meeting. So that position was replaced with a part-time position, correct?
Yes, because Lori's position with the borough clerk's position was 50% finance and 50% codes. So,
So,
go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So we just replaced the 50% of that position that's related to finance, and that part-time position for codes is in Jason's budget.
The financial part of it, but not the actual position itself is still full-time.
No, the position is part-time in finance and part-time in codes.
So there's gonna be two actual positions.
Correct.
There were, okay, now I understand, thank you.
You're welcome.
For the capital outlay requests, the first one, Ken brought to my attention the council may want to have the streetlights painted. So I should say first there are 91 historic lights total, 46 older originals, 24 newer downtown, and 21 on the Emos Street extension. So this quote would repair and paint the 46 older chipped poles, and then it would just paint the 24 newer downtown poles to match the original color. Contractors suggested that springtime would work best and I have that for 2026. Questions on that one?
May I have a quick question? When you say match the original colors, I understand. But my question is, since those historic light poles were put in, there have been installed street signs with historic poles. Would that color, green, of the street poles then match the historic light poles?
I think those will probably look faded compared to them redoing these poles. I don't think they'll quite match.
You know, it's funny. I was looking at some of them the other day, and they seemed surprisingly bright and fresh, but I didn't inspect all of them. So
I'm actually colorblind too, and green is not one of my best colors, so
oh, okay.
it's hard for me to tell. But if we wanted to include them.
Oh,
paint
no,
this-
I'm not suggesting include them.
Oh, okay.
I was just wondering if when you say original color, it's an attempt to line up with the street poles color.
When I think of the original color, I think of like the new brackets that are on them, that color green.
Okay.
That's what I was planning on trying to have them match.
We put those new bottom arms on to replace the silver ones, and they're a little darker looking.
Yeah,
poles.
darker green.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next one, the meters. Originally, when I started looking into the issues we've been having, I was getting a lot of complaints from Greg and experiencing some myself with Honeywell customer service, so I did get a quote from AMP to do a complete switch. However, the more I started emailing people, I realized that nobody gets back to you super quick. And now we have the correct contacts for Honeywell, so they have been responsive and a little more helpful. So I would recommend going with the alternative, which is to stay with Honeywell. I think the initial goal would be to replace the meters that are causing us these communication issues, and then upgrade to the newest version of NetSense, the meter software. So this quote is to replace all the meters, but I think starting out we can just fix the problem ones, and then over the next year or two continue replacing them, which should be funded through the Electric Sinking Fund over the next few years. Do you want to tell them the kind of issues that the girls are having with it?
So we are having communication issues, so pulling data from the meters into our server, and then it gets uploaded into our utility billing system. What we have found out from Honeywell is that we need to upgrade our NetSense, which is what gathers the data, software, quite a few generations up. And so we actually have been working with Honeywell and HIG on figuring out what those upgrades will look like. We don't have quotes necessarily. Some of them are software upgrades that will be free of charge. So we've had several issues. We've had the communication issue, gathering data. We've had our server that goes down, the Honeywell server that goes down regularly, and it has to be rebooted regularly. So data collection, server going down, some of the gatekeepers that collect the data, and it really seems to be in cycle 3, which is Woodland Hills and a couple other larger communities. But once we get those upgrades done, this is where he's picking up with the meters. So we're working on all of that right now.
Since we're talking publicly about a problem with the meter system, I want to make it very clear. We don't have a problem with the reads.
No.
We have a problem pulling them into the system, which means it's a communication issue. It's not a reading issue.
Yeah.
So the numbers are correct. It's just that sometimes we've had to go out and collect them manually.
Yeah, it's just creating a lot of extra work for everybody. Next one is dedicated circuit for Woodland Hills. The substation was designed with this project in mind. Has an additional breaker and feed going out for the dedicated circuit. The shared circuit's seeing a lot of additional load, so we want to split it up, or split Woodland Hills off on its own. And I have that in there for 2027. Next one, behind the meter generation. I think you all kind of know of this one. I'm still working with our engineers in GDS to figure out the best option for us. But the project could be $0 up front with a PPA, or close to $9 million if we would end up owning it and operating it, or anywhere in between with a combination of both. It also depends how large of a system that we put in. The price depends on that. So I want to include this because it is coming up. However, we are still gathering information on the project. And the last one, electric shop evaluation and design. This is kind of continuing what Greg was working on for us. We have a lot of vehicles, equipment, materials stored across different locations in the borough and outside in the elements. and more of our systems and devices are shifting towards remote monitoring and control, like our substations, streetlights, meters, future switches, and reclosures are all able to be remotely operated. So I think it's important, especially in an emergency call-out situation, for the crew to have access to all of that, to be able to look at the SCADA system and see if a breaker's tripped, or look at the metering system and see exactly which meters are out. So this will evaluate our current space and give us a design to centralize our operations. I think that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
Can you refresh my memory? Was there a survey done on this project right here?
The last one?
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't think it ever went anywhere.
I don't think
It didn't.
No.
Well, I think it was started out electric, Angie, and then it went to electric and public works, and then it just didn't I think the quote for the design was $55,000 when Greg brought it before council. But it never came to fruition.
Well, what Angie's probably thinking of is that Greg did spend some money, that they did come down and measure the building and get some raw data and put a proposal together for him. But what would be needed would be more of a further in-depth for somebody to look at how much stuff, what are the options as far as expanding that building, like having an architect or somebody, construction engineer to actually look at the building instead of just,
And that's what this is.
yeah.
Yes.
And would this eliminate you having all 5 locations?
No, that would just tell you what to do to eliminate all 5 locations.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of centralizing one place.
The actual project to centralize it could be $1 million.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. This would just a design.
Rob, I'm glad we're back on that project.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody have any other questions for Rob?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next would be Matt for the highway, public works.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Microphone.
Okay.
Pretty much 2025 expenses so far are tracking fairly well. We did have a small overage in cleaning supplies. Prices kind of shot up on those, so that line item was increased for the next budget. And we went over budget with the library building maintenance due to a failed HVAC that was completely unexpected. So that was replaced with a brand new one, so that will help with that. I believe there are 4 units there and there are 9 here, so we have a good number of HVAC units. For the 26 expenses, a couple of increases and decreases. We shifted the police department building maintenance, so it's a loss to his and a gain to mine, just so I can kind of track what's going on as far as maintenance and everything there. So that's kind of a net zero. And capital outlay decreased by 87,000 due to shifting some of the in-budget things to capital to help the balance, help the budget stay a little bit more even. We did decrease a little bit in the woody waste equipment maintenance. We're going to get as much done as we can this year. Going into next year, we still have a good bit of money in there, so we'll use up as much of that as we can to get everything running as well as it can be. And we have an increase in the woody waste site maintenance, increased costs with utilities and disposal of grindings. The largest piece of the highway budget, the 430 through 438, 250. There's a overall decrease of about 46,000 and some change, mainly due to shifting some paving expenses to capital plans to help even out the budget. Any questions on any of those, or we want to go over the capital items? Okay. Broke it down. There's a couple different areas of responsibility. The first ones would be building and grounds. Project number one would be to replace the windows here at Borough Hall. Majority of them are going to be 89 years old or 90 years old next year. We know they have some issues. This project would be to replace them with new windows. They would be commercial aluminum windows. They will look very nice. We can get the mullions, excuse me, on the inside to keep some of the historic look if we so choose. I actually had two prices on windows. One that's shown on the Capitol is the higher of the two. So it could, depending on what things are selected, it could come in a little bit less than that. That would be the kind of the worst case. Some of the windows are, they're getting to the point the glazing is really dry and coming off of a lot of them. A couple of them have cracked panes. We have some rotten wood on some of the sills and so forth. So wanted to try and get that one working. The second project for capital under buildings would be masonry repairs at Borough Hall. There are 3 stone and brick walls underneath the original portion of the building, and there is some movement of some of the rock for the foundation, as well as some of the brick needs to be repointed down there as well. I would value this one fairly high just to keep our structural foundation intact. Project number 3, renovate the Public Works Garage at 102 Grant. This would be for the red metal building. That garage was built in 1976, and we are seeing corrosion around the bottom of it. It's an all metal building, so even the pieces that are at ground level are metal. We're getting some erosion, or corrosion on there. Some of the lower panels are getting corrosion as well over time. My plan here would be to not completely redo the building. It would be to, the building panels are no longer made. They haven't been made in 30 years. So we would attempt to work with a vendor and have them take some of the old ones off, cut them so we can only replace whatever's needed on the lower panels. They would be able to get a lot out of those, and then we may just have to do one side of the building with new panels, so it will match going around. This would also include the man doors, and it would also include, I'd like to add some additional lighting as well as insulation to help brighten it up in there and make it a little bit more energy efficient. Again, I did receive a quote. Well, I was working on some of the things there, and with not being able to get the same panels, that kind of brought that to a halt a little bit. And that company, I don't believe, will make the pieces for what we need any longer. Next one for number 4 for Public Works, replace HVAC unit number 2, Borough Hall. There are 2 HVAC units that serve the MCSO. This is the older of the 2, was installed in 2003. It uses refrigerant that is very difficult and expensive to come by. R22 has been usurped by a bunch of new varieties in the past 20 years. What I'm hearing from the HVAC folks and from doing some research online, the units don't now have the lifespan of what maybe they had at one time. And it's recommended that 15 to 20 years is probably what we should look at realistically for the lifespan of the units. That unit itself is, it'll be 23 years old in 2006, or 2026, excuse me. Do you want to go questions by each piece, or do you want to wait till the end when we go through all of them?
I'd like to go each piece.
Okay, sure.
What are you gonna use instead of the R22?
There was an R451, I think, and I think that one's been phased out. I don't have the refrigerant number off the top of my head for that one. I can surely find it out.
Okay.
Does that unit just service the MCSO or the lower part of Borough Hall, like where?
It only services, it's one of two that only serve the MCSO.
Hmm. Did you say you're putting new doors on the Grant Street?
Yes, a lot of the door jambs have corrosion in the doors
Yeah.
themselves along the bottom,
I believe that.
are suffering some corrosion.
I believe that. You say rodents are getting in there?
Yeah, there's a couple of the holes large enough that Scott sometimes gets visitors to help him,
Yeah, I believe it.
so. If any of you would want photos of any of these things, let me know, and I'll be glad to get you photos to, sometimes for me it's easier to see things rather than just have a worded description.
And you're putting LED lighting in there?
Yes, yeah, what is there has been converted to LED, so we're gonna add some additional, there's some dark areas in there from the original design.
Okay.
Could we get some photos of the garage?
Sure,
Thank you.
absolutely.
It's hard for me to, make a trip down there with my work schedule, so I wouldn't, if you are able to send some, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I mean, I was in there, but it was years and years ago, so I'm sure it was bad then, I'm sure it's worse now.
Any other questions on that portion of capital? Okay. Moving on, we would get into 01430. The first project would be to replace the woody waste dump truck via 902 grant. The 902 grant typically opens November, December-ish, so it's kind of spans two of our budget years. The woody waste truck is a 2008. It's a very light-duty dump truck. It is served well, but the 902 grant, if awarded, would cover 90% of the cost of the chassis and the dump bed itself. If we convert this over to, it has a plow on it currently, it does not have salt capability. We can reuse the plow, and any snow upfitting. We buy a new hitch, we have to pay for those. DEP won't, for the woody waste facility, they won't provide funding for anything that's not woody waste related, but they would pay for most of the chassis as well as the upfitting for the hydraulics and the dump bed and so forth. And that one is also a 2008 model. And like what we did for the conveyor that we had previously, I would request from DEP that they would allow us to roll over any funds that we would get from the sale of this truck and put it toward that truck as well, and that helps reduce our outlay as well. The second one would be replacement of another small dump truck, it's PW4. It's a 2006, it's a Ford F-550. It's truly the workhorse of the borough. It's used every day pretty hard. It's been a good truck. The engine that is in that model has some known issues. It was not a very good design, and according to our mechanic, we're getting to the point where it's clanking and clattering. He can hear things internal to the engine that we're going to have major rebuild money, or it may be better to, instead of putting a lot of money into a truck that is a 2006, it may be better to just look at funding a new one and moving on. And the cost from that one, we have a list of rolling stock that we would put on a disposition list, and if all of that is approved, we would use that money to put into the sinking fund, which then would go to purchase this vehicle out of there.
Is this the yellow one, the little yellow one?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Project number 3, this is an asphalt hot box for paving repairs. A hot box, one of the issues we have with asphalt is it cools off in the truck fairly quickly. And if we're just doing smaller patches or we're doing a lot of hand work, the trucks don't have heated beds, and once it cools off in the truck, you can't really work it. It just
Right.
kind of sets up kind of like what taffy does, similar. So what the hot box does is it's diesel-fired burners, and it keeps the material warm enough that it's still like it would come from the asphalt plant itself. It's workable. We can do a lot of stuff with it. The one I was looking at also has a hoist and a tray for the plate compactor. Guys are currently picking the plate compactor off the truck and setting it down. This is, I looked at it as a safety aspect of, they won't have to lift such a heavy object in an unwieldy position. So, and it will do its goal. We used to borrow one from another municipality, and I believe that relationship has gone away a little bit. But our ability to do, I'll say smaller patches, but they still may be the size of the table. That's where the hot box would come into play. It's not enough to get the paver out, but we could keep the material warm in the trucks as we get down to the last stuff. Project number 4.
Matt,
Yes, ma'am.
will this work with cold patch as well?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. And I see it's liquid fuels?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Project number 4. Over the years, there's been, some of the streets are getting tired in the town, and most of you are probably aware, driving. Wanted to put funds in for street paving and or microsurfacing. I've been asked a few times over the time I've been here to look at a few streets, and the streets, I met with HRG. We went out and looked at the streets in late 2024, and they provided an estimate for taking care of the streets, and that's what I used kind of for the basis of this. Their estimate was more, but between a mix of microsurfacing, streets that aren't in structural failure yet, microsurface will definitely give us a few more years, and it's very cost effective compared to hot mix asphalt. So there's a couple areas on here that we would like to take care of. These would be contracted projects. They're all a pretty good size, and it would be contract work for that. Number 5 would be funds for storm sewer piping replacement. We're seeing issues with some of our storm sewer pipes. We've had to do 2 repairs on Vine Street in the last few years. The pipe is very corroded, and it causes holes out on Vine Street, and the same with Oak Hills Park. There's a large 48-inch pipe that runs pretty much from the turnpike down to the baseball field. And there are issues with that pipe appearing. Where we were able to see the bottom of it, the bottom is very heavily corroded. It's missing in a few places. It's spent its lifetime. So this would also be contract work. That's big pipe, that's big trenches, everything else. There's also some piping in Fry Park that kind of runs underneath where the existing play area is, and there are holes in the bottom of that pipe as well.
Matt, can I ask a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
So for the paving and this pipe replacement, this would be over a period of years, correct? Wouldn't all be in 1 year that all of this would occur. You would put it over a number of years?
It can be done either way.
Okay.
If it's contract work, a contractor would most likely be able to do things quicker than what we may be able to do, so you could probably lump a few together. The microsurfacing would definitely be contract work. That's specialized equipment to apply microsurfacing. The numbers that are on here is probably phase one. It's a big cost, and I realize those are large numbers, and I totally understand that. Unfortunately, repairing the streets is also, it takes some tons to get them back into ship shape.
Could any of the paving be done through liquid fuels at all? Do they cover that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, since we just got the pieces of Woodland Hills, I'll add those to the liquid fuels map, and we'll get a couple extra dollars next year for the streets that have been turned over to us.
May I ask then, as a follow-up to Sally's question, I see number 3, the hot box was liquid fuels, but does your question imply that liquid fuels would be on the funding source line for some other projects?
For paving
Yeah.
of the streets is what I'm asking. So the hot box would be considered equipment, which is a separate line item on the
Right.
liquid fuels funding that we get. And then the paving could potentially, some of that could come through liquid fuels. And I don't know all the details. I was just asking the question.
Yeah,
We'd have to go back and look, but I'm assuming that some of that could be covered by liquid fuels funding
Okay.
as well. So there's vehicle equipment, and then there's other street projects that you can do,
Okay.
bridges and whatnot.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
like bituminous and stone and stuff like that, that liquid fuels covers.
I have a question, but I actually think it's more for Ken.
Okay.
So I don't understand the whole lease, but I'm kind of curious how come the sewer pipes wouldn't fall under something that Veolia would do.
These are storm sewer pipes, sanitary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know. If I don't know, I can't be the only person in this borough that doesn't know
I wish we could get
or
you to
understand.
fix this.
There's a difference between sewer.
Well, I know that, but I'm just asking.
and
Thank
wa-
you for, letting me know there's a difference between, stormwater and sanitary
There's a difference.
sewer. So, okay, this is a dumb question again, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Dumb
Sure.
question.
Because again, I can't be the only person in this entire borough that doesn't know this entire lease.
You're correct.
So, the stormwater drains in this town, they have nothing to do with.
That's correct.
They only deal with the actual,
Sanitary pipes, the ones that take the sewage away
yes,
from the house. The ones Matt's talking about is rainwater on.
no, I know that.
Yep.
You don't have to dummy it
Yes,
down
the
quite
cleaner
that
water.
low, but thank you. So, all the capital projects that they do are only the sewer.
And water.
And water.
Drinking water.
Yep.
Drinking water pipes and sanitary sewer pipes.
So that's interesting because honestly, I don't know that I ever realized that they had nothing to do with any of the
Storm.
storm. Yeah, I don't know. Am I the only person at this table that didn't know that? I mean, I guess no one else wants to ever
Oh,
admit
no.
that now. So, that's okay. I'll take one for the team. Don't worry.
I knew that. I was gonna admit it.
It's okay, Ellen. You don't have to.
Well, I didn't, but I knew that.
Of
Oh,
course you
okay.
did.
Well, I worked for PennDOT. That's how I knew that.
Zip right now.
Okay.
Are there any other, excuse me, any other questions on the 430 capital items? Okay. 454 is parks, and project number 1 is the Fry Park Access Road. That is budgeted in the 2025 budget.
2026.
Well, it's actually in this year's as well. But we expected to have the grant much earlier than what we have it for now. I'd like to do the road after construction is done so that it doesn't get damaged, and we can also see what our ending point will be once the playground is actually in place. So at this point, I would imagine it would be sometime in the spring, based on the lead times for equipment, whenever we get the grant agreement. But yes, that one is also in the 2026 budget, so that one is taken care of. Project number 2, match for existing submitted grant applications. There's 45,000 for the green
Trails.
yeah, 100,000 for the DCNR and 100,000 for a supplemental match. These were obviously our match to help flesh out the grants that we've applied for. Project number 3 was new playground equipment for Colston Park. Excuse me. I put in 50. That can get a few smaller pieces of equipment. I'm not sure where we want to go with that, how large or small or what types of equipment we're looking at. So I just wanted to put something in there so we could do something there with a few things. Project number 4, it's not totally a park project, but the sidewalks on our flood properties, a number of them are in pretty rough shape. I know at times Jason has been, while he's enforcing sidewalk things on other people, they've mentioned that ours aren't in very good shape either. So this would most likely be the area of Hoffer, Maple, Few, the properties that we own in there, and then Maple and Hoffer on the other side toward Fry Park. Excuse me. I believe we should chip away at them and try to get them repaired. It's an undertaking. The budgeted money here is only one phase, but there's a lot of sidewalk down there. Excuse me. Some of the sidewalks could potentially be removed. That's something we can look at once we delve into where the eventual funding comes out to. Excuse me. Project number 5 was repair to 4 shelters. The shelters down in, thank you. The shelters in Oak Hills and at Hoffer Park, the wooden ones. Oak Hills, it's getting to the point where it needs a new roof. We can do those. There's a couple fascia boards that have some carpenter bee damage. A couple things there that just need to be taken care of, and staff can do those. And that is in the 2026 budget. Any questions on the parks ones?
I actually have a question for you,
Okay.
Matt. The Colston Park project, I know we've been discussing this for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a a bird's eye view of what we have there now, of the park layout, what's there, and have you talked to our engineers with some ideas for what we can put there?
Using Google Earth and measurements, something the size of Colston, or, over here, is about the size of that little L piece on, Colston along Russell. There's about that much room. So there is a fair bit of room there, to make something happen. If I get, I can start pulling things together, as far as examples for equipment, and then we can make them fit after that.
Well, that's what I'd like to see something,
Okay.
Tangible.
Can you check with Veolia about the water, if there's a water down there, a water line, or water?
Not to their recollection, there is none there.
There used to be. There used to be a water fountain down there.
Well, you're talking a long time ago.
Yeah, no, but there used to be one.
Now, is that drinking water?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
is it sanitary sewer water?
No, come
Question.
on now, it was,
Could you clarify that for me,
it
please?
was,
Just
it
make
was a
sure.
water fountain and it was
So-
drinking water.
I went down there recently. When you say the L shape, are you talking when you go in and then it goes over?
Yes. Yeah, the L borders on Russell, the alley that's there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that kind of is like open space, and I mean, I don't think we should put like a lot back there,
No.
or really anything, honestly.
Well, it's out of the way.
Yeah,
Can't really see it.
yeah.
Right.
And there's not a lot down there.
Can we put some
Now?
kind of ADA down there?
Well,
Is that-
yeah, I mean, we'd have to, and I don't think we should. I think it needs spruced up. I think it just needs.
Right.
We just need some something,
Yeah.
some ideas of what can we put in there, like, can we put something like that? Not the whole park,
No,
just,
just,
Just-
That actually looks bigger. Like, but if you add the L, I guess. But yeah.
I think it's just the fact that everything's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have anything there to compare it to. It's just really an open space with a pavilion and a basketball court and a couple of swings.
yeah.
So if you could get some sort of depiction with things that are in the open, nothing hidden back behind that can be
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a couple ideas. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, just some ideas and some cost.
I would like to say that I've been by there twice very recently, and there were people using the basketball court both
cool.
times I was down there.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that park does get utilized.
Thank you, Matt.
Absolutely.
thanks.
The 452 would be for, pool demolition, and this is funded within the 2026 operating budget. So that can happen. It was just a capital thing that's on here, but it is funded already.
We have to wait for the grant to do the demolition.
I believe that's what we were holding. I don't know if we had to have the grant, but we were kind of holding off to make sure that everything was tidy with that.
Okay,
The demo really isn't part of the grant.
but we can go ahead with the demo.
I don't know how it's tied to the grant, but,
I wouldn't advise doing it until you know you've got a grant.
yeah.
Really.
But it's
Because
not
otherwise
tied
you're
to
just
the
sitting with
grant.
a demolished hole, and filling it in, but
Backfill it.
Yeah,
I would think,
well,
I would wait until you.
Really? Okay.
Because who knows, grant doesn't come in, council goes in some other direction with that property.
Alright,
And wants to design something different, cheaper, I don't know, but, I think it's best to wait. I mean, you don't have to, but that would be council's call. You could, if
alright.
you're okay with doing it, we could do it and fill it in. I mean, I just don't want,
I don't know, we'd still have to demo it and backfill it anyhow.
well, I think Matt's crew was gonna backfill, right, Matt?
Mhm.
We were gonna pay a contractor to demo it, and we were gonna use our labor forces to backfill it.
Yes. Moving on, under the 456, which is library, project number 1, I'd like to replace an HVAC unit at the library. The one I'm thinking of is approximately 24 years old. I'd like to kind of get ahead of the failures and replace them before we have a large unexpected expense in the middle of a budget year. We know it's most likely nearing the end of its life, and instead of impacting the budgets, I would just like to try and get some of these older units taken care of. That one is in the 2026 budget. Project number 2, replace windows at the library. This would be to replace the 8 windows on the west side of the building, which is the Catherine Street side of the building. The lower windows are dated somewhere when they did their renovation in 1977. I believe the upper windows could very well be close to original. They could be very old up on the second floor. The windows there are very similar to what they are here. The older windows, they're drafty. They are reaching the end of their life as well. The main window, which is the decorative one where the apparatus used to go in and out, that one is pretty severely rotted. The wood is rotted on that one. That one is in desperate need of replacement. I did get these to Heidi. The only comment she had so far was she would prefer that the windows downstairs don't open. The designer put it as, you know, the 2 side windows could open, but Heidi just preferred not to have any more areas down there that would have to have alarm sensors put on for her system. So this one is currently unfunded. I can check in with her. She's had this for a couple of days now, a week. I can check in to see if she has any other thoughts on the design. Hopefully she got it to her library board folks, and they've taken a look at what the proposal was. And, you know, once we work all that out, then we would go from there. It is currently unfunded. This would be relatively high on one of my projects to be funded. That main window is definitely at the end of its life. I think this is one that should be pretty high up there on the list. Number 3 goes kind of hand in hand with the upstairs windows and their age. Water has gotten in those windows around the windows themselves over the years, and they are plaster walls, and the plaster needs repaired on the interior of the front wall of the building. And we would redo those in plaster to have the walls be the similar. We can see where that one goes. Heidi has specifically asked for that because of how it looks on the inside of the building. Project number 4, the masonry repairs, and that would be to have a masonry point and repair as needed, approximately 30% of the exterior walls. I've worked up a spec-ish for this. It's currently unfunded. There is money in the 2025 budget. I'm going to attempt to get the spec out this week, and in my research, they can do the work down to 40 degrees, so we still may be able to get it in this year out of the 2025 budget. The final one would be, number 5 would be replace the existing brick entry walkway with concrete, and the slabs across the front of the building along Catherine Street. They're failing, they're cracked, they're falling off, and I would like to get those replaced and taken care of. And that one was estimated at $10,000. It's work that we would undertake, working with Heidi to, maintain access to the library as much as practical. That one is currently unfunded as well. Any questions with library items?
Anyone have questions?
Again, if any of you think after this moment, if you want photos of something, please let me know. We'll gladly get photos, and I can send them out to all of you so you all see the same thing simultaneously. And you can experience what we're looking at. There's nothing else for me. I will let you get on with your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
So tomorrow night, we have another budget meeting beginning at 6 o'clock. There will be a presentation from EMA and then the volunteer fire department.
Great.
Okay?
Now is the time of general public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Everybody in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Motion adjourned.
Okay.
I mean, meeting adjourned.
Well, the motion can be adjourned.
See you guys.
All right.
See ya.